This is the Jillian Greyse Show, Vibrational Architect. I teach the discipline of redesigning the internal patterns that shape your love, your relationships, and the life you quietly know you were meant to live. Whether you're moving through familiar emotional cycles or you're a high achiever who senses there's more available to you, you're in the right place. This is where people learn to master the architecture of their lives and release the patterns holding them back from their inner blueprint. Each episode ends with a guided transmission to anchor the vibration we're working with so you can fully step into becoming the architect of your own life. Join me, Jillian Greyse, as we pull back the layers and rebuild the vibration you were always meant to live from. Welcome back to this episode of the Jillian Greyse Show. Today, I'm going to talk to you about a human experience that everybody goes through when they try to make a change, and you feel it. And for a lot of people, many people that I work with, I have seen this be a major point of where they have setbacks. So I want to make sure that everyone is aware of what to look out for, why it's happening, and how you can override it. Because the moment you have acknowledgement, the moment you have awareness, you also have control. And this has everything to do with personal change. It's the moment when you finally feel like you're moving forward. You're finally aligned. You're finally becoming that version of yourself that you've worked hard towards. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, the old emotions return. The old doubts, the old heaviness, the old patterns that you swore you were done with, they surge within you and cause you to start doubting everything. Most people think it's because they're slipping. They think it's because they're going backwards. But what if I told you this is the exact moment that proves you're evolving? And what if I told you that that forward motion always pulls into a backward reflection on the surface for at least a small period of time, not as punishment or sabotage, but as a natural part of human expansion? Today, I'm going to expand the mechanics of that law in a way that you've never heard of before so that you can apply it to architect your reality. First, the hidden law of expansion. There's a phenomenon in physics called the inertia drag. It's when an object accelerates, the space behind it doesn't immediately agree. It resists, it pulls back, it tries to keep the object where it is. Humans do the same thing. You accelerate into a new identity, you accelerate into a new standard, you accelerate into a new level of self-respect, a new level of happiness, a new level of an emotional baseline, and your internal world doesn't instantly recognize and reorganize that change. It has a drag behind it. Your mind moves forward fast, your energy moves forward next, and then the body moves forward last. The body is your emotional archive. It has one job: to show you everything that cannot come with you. And it does this not to punish you. It's not to test you, but to empty this space needed for who you're becoming. And this is the part that no one understands. The resurfacing is not regression. It's the release under pressure. It's that inertia catching up. Okay, now this is something that everybody experiences. And then they become so down on themselves when they oscillate back into it. And it's the euphoria before the echo. So every transformation begins with a spark, a moment of clarity that is so sharp it cuts through your whole system. You feel like you came alive. You literally feel like this is it. This is who I am now. This is the direction I'm in. And that spark, it's real. It's not delusional. It's not temporary motivation. It's your future self making contact. But here's the part that people don't expect. Every spark creates an echo. And the echo is the emotional residue of every version of you that didn't believe you could become what's about to unfold. It's not the past returning. It's the past reacting. Because when you rise, every part of you that stayed small gets activated. When you change, every part of you that stopped you from already being that version of you rises to the surface. This happens not to pull you down. It's because it's being pulled out of you. And then a lot of people run into the backward reflection. The backward reflection is the moment where your system goes, if this is who we are now, we need to reconcile who we were. It's identity dissonance. Your old identity doesn't disappear quietly. It questions, are you sure? Is this safe? Do we know how this version is going to play out? What if we fail? These questions aren't sabotage, they're orientation, and they're natural of your ego self or yourself who has an awareness of your human in the decisions that you've made as a protection. Your system is trying to understand the new map. It's trying to feel out whether it's safe. Backward reflection is not emotional relapse, it's emotional reorganization. It's your system pulling up the old files so it can delete them, essentially. But most people panic when these files appear. They think the files are returning. They're not, they're just being processed. And a great example of this is, let's say you decide that you are going to change professions and you feel filled with all this excitement, filled with all of these ideas, and just like something inside you woke up within you. And you spend days afterwards planning and feeling really like you're on top of the world. And every single thing that you ever wanted comes to mind without a lot of effort. You feel like you are in the zone. And then all of a sudden, you wake up one day and it feels like this part of you is telling you that everything you just said to yourself was a lie and that you can't trust what you're thinking. And the what ifs start to sink in. That is an example of this frequency. It is the exact example of the inertia drag. The most misunderstood moment of growth is that bottleneck moment. The bottleneck moment isn't a block. It's a compression chamber. When you step into a new frequency, your system compresses everything that contradicts it into one concentrated moment. That's why it feels so intense. That's why it feels so sudden. That's why it feels like everything is happening at once. It is. Your system is trying to push all of the outdated emotional data through a narrow exit point. And this is the moment where people quit. So this is when you start to feel like you're moving forward and then you get that overwhelming sensation that everything you've been thinking is incorrect and that everything you want to do is just a pipe dream. And you start to become lost in that narrative within you. Recognize that that is the old narrative. That's the narrative that prevented you from taking the steps that you're about to step towards in the first place. Everything that has a new birth has to have an old destruction. Birth and destruction and birth and death go hand in hand. So the same thing happens with that inertia frequency within you. As you move forward, there has to be a death. And that death can be very uncomfortable. And when it hits, it usually hits like a bottleneck. This is happening because your system is trying to push all of the outdated data through this narrow exit point. This is the moment where people quit, not because they're weak, but because no one ever taught them what this moment is. It's not collapse, it's compression before expansion. Just like a star contracts before it explodes into light, the same exact thing happens with your frequency when you are about to change or shift from one form or architecture in your identity to another. It's a natural process, and every single one of us experience it, no matter what that is. It can be something that's an obvious choice, like you're choosing to move to a different location, but it also can occur in situations where you are changing and evolving naturally, becoming a parent, getting married, walking into a new relationship, falling in love. All of those things can cause this first euphoric expansion, and then all of the backlog of the reasons why you were afraid of becoming it in the first place, the reasons where you were not looking at how to evolve towards this point. And all of this involves a death of the old. And that death of the old gives birth to the new. It's so important to not get lost in that death, like so many do, because that death is designed to bring you back to that baseline point and continuously put you in that loop of trying to expand and getting lost over and over again. So when those moments come up and you have those doubts and you go through that euphoric feeling and it's like you have this high that gets automatically destroyed by this low, know that those peaks and valleys are part of that inertial wave. And that's a natural progression of what's going to happen as you evolve, as you step into a new timeline, and as you begin to learn how to architect your reality, because you're going to be collapsing old versions of yourself on a consistent basis. So being comfortable with the wave is going to allow you to stay in the driver's seat and not let those thoughts get the best of you and cause setbacks. So your nervous system's role. Your nervous system is a pattern recognition machine. It doesn't care about your goals. Its primary focus is what is familiar. When you step into a new identity, your nervous system is going to scan for familiar emotions, familiar sensations, familiar relational dynamics, and familiar internal narratives. Not because it wants to keep you small. It's trying internally to relocate the home that it's always known. When you evolve, home changes. Your nervous system has to update its internal GPS. The backward reflection is actually the recalibration period. It's not the setback time. It's your system saying, I'm learning the new coordinates. I'm learning a new way to get to this destination. I'm learning about a new destination. I'm allowing it to program in. Your job is to step back and let it do what it needs to do without getting caught up in that narrative and building it again. This is what I see a lot of people do. When they start to have that compression chamber move through them, the first thing that they do is get lost in it. So here is 5 fresh, powerful steps to help you move through that backward reflection without collapsing. The first, recognize the compression, not the content. Don't analyze the emotion, name the process. This is compression. This is recalibration, that it will instantly shift you out of fear. And as soon as you can acknowledge what's happening, you become in control of how you can steer it. Step 2 is to anchor into the new identity first. This is one of the most misunderstood parts of transformation. And I'm going to break it down in a way that feels easier to assimilate. It's not the usual step into the future self language. Most people try to process their old emotions from a perspective of the old identity, and that's where they get swallowed by them. Anchoring into the new identity first means you shift the vantage point before you deal with the emotion, not after, not during, before. It's the difference between drowning in the wave versus watching the wave from the shore. It's the same wave, but different identity holding it. The old identity can't process its own emotions. It can't process the new emotions. So when you go through that oscillation where those old emotions are coming back up again, if you try to look at the new identity and make sense of it, you are going to be making sense of the future from the past. So you're only going to have the ability to do that from your past thoughts. And it will sabotage that future identity that you're creating. So when you go through these patterns, when you go through that step that's about to happen, where that old identity is going to try to make sense of the new identity, it's incredibly important that you step back and you say, at this point, I'm not in a place to start making decisions, changes, or analyzing my future. I need to let these emotions move through first. So once you have that direction, it will help you to be able to place your mindset in the right direction, as long as you aren't trying to analyze from where you are. Let yourself move through that old frequency and then allow that new identity to continue to anchor as you move forward. Step 3, slow the internal tempo. Backward reflection speeds up your internal tempo. Your job is to slow it down, not with breath work, with awareness. So when your mind starts to go crazy, it can be very challenging to use breath work to reset it. The mind is in motion. So doing something that will also put the mind in motion is going to be an easier way to calm that. When that reflection starts to speed up, meaning you start to have all those thoughts come at a very high rate, you don't want to take a moment to breathe. You don't want to take a moment to do breath work. That's going to throw you further into those thoughts. Instead, you want to redirect to something that's more active. Look around your environment. Try to find one detail to describe in your mind. Try to find the colors of the rainbow around the room. Some type of active practice to slow down that internal thought process is an incredible way of resetting that frequency so you don't get lost in it and you don't allow it to keep going. It shifts the momentum and it grounds your system. Step 4, don't answer the old questions. So when the old identity is asking you, are you sure? What if we fail? Is this safe? Don't answer them from the place that you're at. Those questions aren't seeking truth. They're seeking protection and familiarity. They're not seeking evolution. If you try to answer them from the old version of you, then they are going to lock you back into that old version. So let them pass unanswered. Be okay without having the answers, even if it's uncomfortable. Acknowledge that they're there. Acknowledge that they're coming up because the old you is knocking at the door and is ready to walk through to become the new version. And let them be what they are without creating a narrative, without following them, without giving them power. Step 5, hold the line until the breakthrough clicks. Every compression chamber has a click, a moment where the pressure breaks and the new identity becomes the default. Most people never reach the click because they interpret the pressure as a sign to stop. But the pressure is the sign that you're close. As always, I end every episode with a quick guided talk down. This is not a meditation. It's a way to recalibrate your system so that you can integrate everything that we talked about into the frequency of your being and allow it to wake up on your time. So I invite you to close your eyes, take a deep breath, sit back, and let's begin. I want you to imagine you're standing in a long hallway. This hallway represents your evolution. Every door on the left is the past version of you. Every door on the right is the future version. You're standing in the center between who you were and who you're becoming. Now take one slow step forward. As you do, hear a faint sound behind you, a whisper, a memory, an emotion rising. Don't turn around, just notice it. This is the backward reflection, the echo of who you used to be. Now imagine a soft light forming around your body. Not above, not below, around you. This light is the frequency of your future self. Step into it. Feel it wrap around your shoulders. Feel it settle into your spine. Feel it anchor into your ribs. Now imagine the old emotions behind you turning to dust. Not disappearing, disintegrating. Don't fight them. Don't fix them. Don't analyze them. Just allow them to fall away. One step, then another, then another. With each step, the hallway behind you fades. The doors close, the echoes become quiet, and the light around you grows stronger. Now place one hand on your chest. Feel the warmth. Feel the steadiness. And softly say, I am moving forward. I am not going back. I am becoming. Let that settle into your body. Let it imprint. Let it become the new baseline. Now, whenever you're ready, you can take a deep breath and open your eyes. As you continue to grow and shift and change, like so many of us are right now, you're not regressing. You're not slipping. You're not failing. You are going to experience the natural mechanics of expansion. It's a beautiful thing. Forward motion always involves backward reflection because your system is clearing the space you need to rise. You're not stuck. You're just in the compression chamber. And that click is coming soon. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Jillian Greyse Show. If you want to continue on your journey, take a peek at my website, jilliangreyse.com, and sign up for my newsletter for lots of information that I do not get the opportunity to disclose on this podcast. And as always, if you are ready to evolve on your personal journey, take a peek at my private sessions. I work with hundreds of people and help them evolve step by step so that they can step into the new architecture of their life. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'll chat with you next week. Let this episode settle into your system. And if someone in your life is moving through their own patterns or stepping into their next level, send this episode to them. The vibration you're integrating becomes stronger when it's shared. And if you feel called, liking the show or leaving a review helps this work to reach people who are meant to find it. I'm Jillian Greyse, and I'll meet you in the next episode as we keep rebuilding the blueprint that you were always meant to live from.